Welcome to Access Your Higher Guidance, Master Your Intuition, and Create Your Life with Intent. I'm your host, Grace Garneau, and we have a fascinating topic today, which is reading the Akashic Records with Lisa Barnett. Lisa is an internationally recognized teacher, author, and speaker about the Akashic Records, and she has founded the School of Akashic Knowing, the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. And she specializes in working with people to clear soul contracts, karma, and vows. She's written some books, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, and a title that I love, which is From Questioning to Knowing. Welcome, Lisa. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Grace. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about what the Akashic Records are and about how you got onto this path?
Absolutely. So the short version of the Akashic Records is it is the record of your soul, really through time immemorial. So everything you have ever been or done, every life you've lived, every place or dimension you've been in is recorded and stored in your own personal library, which we call the Akashic Record. Now, I love the kind of new modern idea that if you imagined when you were born that you had, say, a GoPro strapped to your head, or, maybe they'll implant them in our head, right? We talk about maybe the future, we'll just have our phones, implanted in our heads. So you have a GoPro on, and every night you'd upload your day video up to the iCloud, and you can always go back and look and see what you did last year, 20 years ago. You can review your videos 5 lives ago. What was I doing back then? What gifts did I have? What was I working on, or what relationships did I have? So that's literally what the Akashic Record is. It's the recording of you, and you can access it to support you in this life.
Wow, so it's like a catalog of every single thing that's ever happened.
Right. So, your GoPro iCloud library, or you can imagine it as a real physical library. And actually, one of the things that's so lovely is that we all have our own library and our own librarians. So there are actually beings of light that keep your Akashic Record, and they're here to support you. So if you speak to them, and say, what was I thinking? What was my soul plan? Do I have some gifts and talents I haven't accessed yet? They can tell you about that. And often that's related to other lifetimes in which you became proficient and became talented or gifted in other sorts of ways and avenues. And so once you've done that, it's kind of part of your record.
Yeah. Now, how did you come across working with this? Like, what was your experience that led you to?
Well, mine is, of course, we're all so unique, so of course they're very individual. When I was about 3 years old, I woke up and realized I was like trapped back in a body, and wasn't particularly excited about that thought, and kind of told my mother, I want to go home, I want to go back. But because she couldn't send me back, much to my chagrin, I really started as a teenager reading everything I could get my hands on. So I read esoteric information. I minored in philosophy. And when I was older, I was studying energy healing, psychic anatomy, intuitive guidance. So I was an energy healer, intuitive psychic reader. And my teacher talked about the Akashic Records. But the interesting thing was, she said, everyone has an Akashic Record, and when you do healing on a client, you want to go up to their record keepers and ask for the energy that they can now hold, now that you've healed, cleared, moved old energy. But you can't go in the records. No one's allowed into the records.
Hmm.
So you can go up to the gate. I used to imagine this big stone building with a big iron gate around it. And I'd go up and I'd say, please, sir, can my client have some healing energy now that we've done all this work?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd literally see this energy kind of come down etherically, like sparkly waterfalls or, books or just whatever it was, would kind of drop down into their crown, and I could see it come down in their body. And I'd just say, thank you. And then kind of out of the blue, I started to get, when I would be working with a client, I'd occasionally get kind of a big booming voice. I would hear like all of this amazing expansive information about past lives and soul contracts and what they came to do. And I'd think, wow, that was amazing. But I never put two and two together. It took me 5 years to figure out who was talking to me. So that was how I entered the records, just accidentally, inadvertently, until I realized who I was talking to, and I could start to do it consciously.
So it was the Akashic Lords that were speaking to you, is that?
Yeah, the Lords don't tend to speak to us very often. It's the Lords I channel the books from. Usually we speak to a little bit of the lower level people, like the teachers or the record, the general beings of light, record keepers. And then there's a level of masters that work with us very often as we're working on, say, soul contracts or soul purpose, what we came to do. So
how does this being able to access the records help us with our soul purpose?
Well, it helps you to understand who you are and what that might be. Now, I always like to explain that a soul purpose is not a job description because, often people will say, like, what's my purpose? What job am I supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. And so purpose isn't your job. It's kind of what you came to do. And most of us have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of smaller purposes and, bigger ones. So if I use myself as an example, I would say one of my purposes is as a communicator. And so I've written books. That's communication. I speak a lot. I teach classes. So I'm communicating the spiritual information and wisdom to the world. Another soul purpose, a little more specific for me, is to help bring the Akashic Records back to the earth. And this is something the Akashic record keepers asked me specifically to do about 15 years ago. They said this energy and information was pulled away from the earth for about 1,000 years. And it's time for it to come back. So will you help to bring this information and wisdom to the world? And I said, sure, I'll give it a try, right? That's kind of big. That's really, I have 3 small children. Are you sure you want to pick me? Anyway, and of course there's more than just me who do this work. But so those are kind of big collective soul group contracts. Mm-hmm. And then I have 3 children and, so kind of the mother energy. So we have a lot of different purposes that can connect to everything from sharing, teaching, speaking out in the world, to mothering, to writing, to healing, to being a conduit of ancient new information, being an inventor, teaching people about kind of the bigger truths. And sometimes we do that just by being that truth, by being that light, by being that unconditional love for our families, for the people that we work with. Even we could be working in a bank or be in the corporate world, and we're leading by example. So soul purpose isn't always to be something like a healer or a speaker. It may be, to really share the unconditional love with all of those people around us. And by doing that, we are literally helping to raise the vibration of those people. And that when their vibration raises, that ripples out, right? So we're actually helping to raise the vibration of humanity by being the higher vibration love and light for the world.
Mm. And so are you able to teach people how to access the records and to, or I mean, is it more like you're telling people about their soul purpose, or can you help people to discover it through their, on their own?
So I do both. Of course, I do Akashic record readings and healings for people. A lot of people just want an answer, right?
Yeah.
What's up in my life? So we can look at a lot of the drama, the trauma, the challenges. Why would I pick this abusive family? What else am I supposed to do? Do I have soul contracts with these people? All of these kind of questions. People, really would just like an answer, so that they can get some healing and move on. And that's part of what we can do in the Akashic Records. We can clear old, out of time soul contracts. I can heal pain and trauma from other lives that are bleeding through into this life. We can do really a version of soul retrieval where we're retrieving splintered souls that splinter because of pain and trauma from other lifetimes. And again, when we do that, we can also reclaim some of these talents or some of these gifts that we have. So, of course, I do that for people because that makes it easier for them. And that's what I do with my school, is I teach people. So when the Akashic Records said, masters, the beings of light, said to me, we want you to start a school. And I was like, oh, right, another big project. Me and my 3 kids and big projects. Anyway, so I said, I don't know that I can do that. And they said, well, we'll give you sacred access prayers that you can teach to people that make it easy to move straight into the Akashic Records. So the way I teach a 5-step wisdom prayer system, which is very simple and it's organized and kind of linear, because I have that kind of organizational linear piece. I spent 15 years in the corporate world myself. And I find it useful for most of us humans. So we have, kind of an intention prayer, and we think of the questions we want to ask, about ourselves to help us on our human journey. And then we have an access prayer, which makes it very simple to move and just kind of open into this energy so we can speak to our librarians, our record keepers. And then when we're done, we can close and lock the records and go on about our day with this beautiful divine guidance. So now
you mentioned something about a forgiveness prayer. Is there a prayer that you would like to share with us today, or?
Well, I was actually going to do a different process today.
Okay.
I don't have my forgiveness prayer on me.
Okay. That's right. All right. We'll be happy to. But let me first ask you some other things. You mentioned past lives. Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship of the past lives to the Akashic Records, like how it helps us to learn about our past lives?
Right. Yeah. So our past lives really inform this life.
Okay.
When we write a soul plan, we say, let's see, what karma do I want to complete? And the karma is what we have created from other lifetimes. And karma is not ever about punishment. It's always about learning and growing. Now, it doesn't always look that way, let me just say, but that's the truth of the way the record keepers share it with us, right? So we come in to learn, to grow, to be compassionate, to forgive. And as we do all of these things, we set ourselves up to often have challenging relationships or situations in our life. So we have an opportunity to forgive. We have opportunities to feel compassion for other people. We have opportunities to open our lives and really awaken in a bigger sort of way. Because if we think about it, that's what we're coming to do, is to awaken, to remember the truth that we are infinite souls, divine, wise, infinite beings. And that's the truth of who we are, not just little human beings that are struggling along with one little life. So we have soul contracts, we have soul family members. Often we spend time in past lives with them. Sometimes we write soul contracts for support with these other souls who are coming to Earth now. Sometimes, again, it's about completing karma or a pattern, or say if you had a loved one who died young in a past life, you might write a soul contract to come back together and have a longer life in this lifetime. So you may recognize that soul when you meet them again, and then you might have this great, lovely, supportive, terrific friendship or partnership in some way. We have soul contracts to often partner in business or in different sorts of ways with in marriages or with children or with parents. And sometimes they have karma attached, and those make it a little bit more challenging. So it really is much of who and what we've been and done in other lives that help us to decide what we want to work on, what we're going to put into this soul contract now. And of course, again, those gifts and talents, those places where we've really come to to really be good at something, where it really now is a talent that you can say, I want to bring that talent here now. So like for me, it's like I could say, okay, so at some point I decided I had a talent of accessing the Akashic Records because I've done it in so many other lifetimes and been an oracle and been a scribe and been a channel. So it's like I want to bring that talent so I can be useful and of service to humanity now. So that's kind of how that affects our life this time.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the work that you do with removing karma and clearing the soul contracts and the vows. How does that work, and how does it help people?
Yeah. So say someone comes and they've had maybe a kind of challenging or traumatic sort of lifetime, and they're struggling with money and they can never quite make enough, and they always feel like they're kind of living in survival mode. And so we would open their records and go and ask their record keepers for help and assistance, and say, please show me whatever karma or soul contracts or vows, past lives that are creating this block for this person in this lifetime. And it's, because again, we're really old, we're very ancient. That means that you'll have many different layers of information that'll come through. So you may have had some karma in a past life where you stole other people's money. And then you felt really bad, and there you are on your deathbed going, oh, that was
Darn.
Not a good idea. I'm going to vow never to do that again. And, I'm going to stay away from money. That made me really, like bad or, untrustworthy. And so now we've created this vow around having money. And again, maybe in another lifetime, you had vows of poverty that are connected to different religious vows, right? You were a monk or you were a nun or a priest, and you took a vow of poverty, and they usually go along with, poverty and chastity. And so we have these kind of different, sometimes spiritual vows, and vows can really get stuck. Deathbed vows, spiritual vows, they really can stay with us lifetime after lifetime. So we're like, okay, I'm ready to be done with that. I'm ready to step into my own, power and creative abilities. And I'm ready to be an abundant soul in all ways, abundance in love, abundant in, finances, abundant in all the goodness the universe has to offer us. That's really what we come to do. So it's important to clear that old karma or contracts or vows, so that we can move forward and do that.
So it's a tremendous service to offer.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
useful. And I teach
hugely
people, you know,
impactful, yeah.
yeah, and I teach much of this in my course. Not in course one, you learn to read the records. It's kind of the beginning place, and I do teach online also. So I have students all over the world. I'm teaching a course here in San Francisco in June. I do travel some and teach in different locations. But I find, of course, you know, the online work is easiest for most people, right? To just, you know,
Right.
get on the phone, get on your computer and, you know, take a class that way. And the second course we go on to really understand all of this huge information, this all the different realms of past lives, of contracts, of creativity, and ancestral lineage, genetic lineage. Why did I pick this body? Why did I pick this family? How is my ancestral lineage affecting my life now? How's my, you know, genetic lineage affecting my body now, right? So we work in all those realms, and I teach people healing work also. So it's you know, it's important to share this wisdom so that people can empower themselves by having this ability and this guidance to do this kind of work for themselves every day. I love to do readings and healings for people, but I also want to empower those people who are ready for that.
Beautiful. You mentioned something that you were going to share with us. Would you like to share
Yeah.
that now?
Yeah, it's very fun because the record keepers give me tons of guided meditations and visualizations to help support us. So they're wonderful tools. And this I call connecting the three brains. So if you imagine that we have a brain in our head, sixth chakra brain, right? Of course, we have the left and right. We have all of our, you know, our third eye, our clairaudience, our telepathics, our clairvoyance, all in our head. So kind of that big third chakra, sixth chakra, third eye, sixth chakra brain. Then we have our heart brain, which is our real heart coherence, our claircognizance, our deep knowingness, right? Our heart speaks to us and speaks, our heart and our guts actually speak to our brains as much as our brains speak to our hearts or our guts. And then we have a body brain, right? So third chakra runs the body in a lot of ways, of course, the digestion, but really a lot of the body energy and information, and clairsentience, all of those of you who are real sensitive emotionally and energetically, that's a third chakra, second chakra clairsentient, right, piece. So when we connect the third chakra, the gut brain, with the heart brain, the clair cognizance, with the wisdom of the sixth chakra, of the head brain, it helps us to connect all of our intuitive centers, and so that we really are much more intuitive and wiser in that kind of way, because everything's talking to each other. And it also, I think, helps to make our bodies function and run better, because again, these brains are speaking to each other. So all that said,
okay,
let's do a little guided meditation to do that.
Okay.
So just allowing yourself to let your body drop back into your chair. And just kind of focusing in your head, bringing all of your energy back behind your eyes. I kind of like to imagine we're drawing ourselves right into the center of our head. That's where our pineal gland is. Of course, one of our great master glands, right there in the center of your head. So when we come into this space of the pineal, the center of the head, we're really in this head-brain driver's seat. So from this energy, we're just lighting up this space, the pineal, the driver's seat here. We're adding a little extra energy as we focus on that space and activate the head brain. And from here, we're just going to drop down, just like you're dropping down a tube, down your throat, right into your fourth chakra, your heart chakra, right there in the center of your chest. And as we send and connect a little of that energy down into our heart, we invite our hearts to open and expand a little bit further. And now imagine that you have a gold infinity symbol and you're going to connect your heart up to your head. And so I run a vertical gold liquid light infinity symbol from your sixth chakra down to your fourth chakra, just connecting them up so that your sixth chakra and your heart are speaking and connected with the high vibration of golden liquid light. And breathing into that, feeling that unified field. We're going to drop from our heart down into our third chakra, right down into our kind of mid-belly gut. And we're going to connect also heart with another gold infinity symbol, fourth chakra to third chakra, connecting heart to third, fourth to third. Aligning them, bringing them into resonance so our gut brain can talk to our heart brain and heart brain can talk to our head brain. And we just set the intention that we have this beautiful unified field of intuitive knowingness, and that our body is aligned and connected and speaking with clarity and ease. And so it is. So just allowing yourself to come back. We can do that sort of little visualization and then leave them connected and speaking, right? And see how that feels. And then sometimes from there, I would run another gold infinity symbol, liquid light up to source, up to our higher selves, right? So we're adding one more layer of that intuitive connectedness. And the golden liquid light is beautiful because it's the highest vibration of you. No matter who you are, it's always your highest vibration, the high, beautiful golden liquid light.
Lisa, I love that. That feels so good. I'm like, I'm still really feeling the golden light, and I'm like, wow, thank you very much for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Would you like to tell people about how they can reach you for the different things that you offer, and also about the free gift? You know, there's a link on this page for a gift that Lisa is offering. So maybe you can let us know about that.
Absolutely. So the gift I'm offering is called Infinite Connection. And so it really assists you in connecting with this beautiful golden liquid light and infinity symbols to all the people around you. And what this does is it brings your relationship into present time, whether it's with your spouse or a loved one or your children or your workmates or a parent. I know a lot of my students use this with their parents, especially before they go home to visit, and they say it really helps the parent to see them as the adult that they are now instead of the child that the parent remembers. So if you're familiar with chords, what this does is we're creating a present time conscious connection heart to heart, and that allows some of the old chords that are really outside of time and space now to fall away. So that's a very profound and simple tool that you can also download and listen to and learn to use. And you can, of course, connect to me on my website at akashicknowing.com. And you'll find links to my consultations and to my classes. So there's a lot more information about classes. And if you're, in the California area, San Francisco Bay Area, and you want to do a course in June, then you could check that out or look for the online course coming up in January, February. And I look forward to connecting and meeting many of you.
Thank you, Lisa. That was really, really fascinating. Really great to hear from you. So thank you for sharing such profound work that is
Oh,
making such a difference for people, and for contributing to this show. And because that's really a very unique perspective that I think is really helpful for everyone.
thank you, Grace. I appreciate you.
All right. I will see you next time.